And we're live.
Welcome once again to the current episode of Fearless Flight Live. I'm Capt Ron Nielsen here. And in just a minute, I'll introduce you to my cohorts. That you're looking at our home screen there, and you know this is for anybody who has a fear of flying, who knows somebody who has a fear of flying, or somebody who just likes talking about aviation. And we're with you tonight. We've got well, I can't say up in that corner because it might not be up in your corner, but weighing in at a appropriate weight, Diane Hansen, our resident flight attendant.
Thank you for that. That's good.
I thought that'd be as far as I wanted to go, Diane.
There you go. That was it.
Yeah. Anyway, and then also over here is Eric Larson, captain extraordinaire and good all around guy, and then Dieter, our grounding person here with all of our tech. It keeps us out of trouble most of the time, although we're pretty creative getting into trouble, so we keep him challenged there. But anyway, so we're glad to have all of you this weekend. I want to say a little bit up front about talk about what the difference is between this show that we do every week and the other stuff, but particularly, our coaching thing that's coming up, our monthly coaching sessions coming up on Thursday. Both of them, we want to be interactive, and we really do want input from you. And I know a lot of you are active in the remarks and stuff like that, but bring us your tired, your poor. Oh no, that's something else. Bring us the questions that you have out there. We want to know. We want to be here for you. And it's much more interesting to everybody else out there than what Eric and I and Diane can come up with each week, and Dieter. We know that you guys have a lot to talk about because we monitor the chat, and we monitor the Facebook page, Facebook group. And so don't be bashful. Bring your stuff up, and we promise not to embarrass you too badly. Now we'll be the ones that'll be embarrassed. Yeah, and certainly leave us a remark there, whether you're with us live or whether you're watching the replay, because we go through there and we check for residue and see who was there and what was interesting to them. But it's definitely more interesting, and we value what you all have to say there. Let me show you. We just want to mention our Facebook group that we have every week, or that we have running live there. This is our private Facebook group, Birds of a Feather, Fearless Flight Birds of a Feather group. And this is for people who just want to talk to somebody else about their flights. And I can't remember, we'll ask our guests here tonight, but I've had at least one or two people in this last week tell me how they value when they go in there and they put out the fact that they're flying, how important it is to hear that other people say, hey, I'll keep an eye out for you, or I'll do flight aware or whatever. And so we really get great input. We have interaction in there. We're up well over 1,000 people, and we always got room for more. So come by and introduce yourself and join our group. Tonight we have a couple of special guests, and I'll introduce them in just a minute. We're going to again highlight the app, because if you don't have the app, you're not getting the best out of Fearless Flight. It's so much easier to stay connected with us by having it on your portable device. And we got one more graduation flight coming up in just under 2 weeks. We'll always welcome your questions, and we'll highlight the coaching webinar coming up on Thursday, and we'll talk about the Fearless Flight Club. So with that, what I'd like to do is I'd like to invite Pamela Woody and Janice Gilbert to come and join us here. Janice is remote and only able to get on with her voice, but we don't care how she gets here. Just like last weekend, she showed up, as did Pamela. And we like to think that that's 90% of the battle. Right, Pam?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thanks for coming, Pam. I really appreciate it, and putting yourself out there. And you too, Janice. I really, so just blurt out there, Janice. It's, we want you to feel included in all that. So what we did was we went to Baltimore and back, didn't we?
Yep.
We did.
We
Yeah.
did.
And so Janice, why don't I start with you just a little bit? Why don't you give everybody just a brief little history of focus on, what made you afraid? When did you realize you're afraid to fly? How bad did it get? And what made you decide to get over it? And then we'll keep moving around.
Right.
We'll ask Pam, same thing.
So I've always been afraid to fly, and I didn't fly till I was 25. And the first time I flew, it was just really hard, and it always was hard to fly. I flew for like 10 years and white knuckled it, and had a drink or whatever. And then I just stopped flying altogether. I didn't fly for about 17 years. And then about 11 years ago, went to Disney with my kids. I always found ways to get around, and because again, living in the Boston area, it's easy to get around by other ways, train, and we're close to everything. So I just flew only because I had to. And I just got to the point where I just, run out of places to get every other way. And I really want to get over this fear. And, that I found, I Googled, whatever, fear of flying, whatever. I found your group, and I can't believe that you have so many resources, and just, it's just an incredible program. So.
And you did, I think you did the Clear for Takeoff 201 online course, right?
I did.
And
And
then of course,
yeah. And that was so helpful. I mean, because I feel like I've been, listening to it pretty much constantly for 2 or 3 weeks, and I felt so much better when I got on the plane with all that information. Because I knew some things. I got a book when I flew 11 years ago, but didn't have anywhere near the amount of information that I got recently. Even the night before, somebody was talking about how planes sometimes drop, and they explained that, and that was so helpful because I'd heard that happened, and that was always in the back of my mind. That was scary, and they said no, it's really not a big deal, and the plane doesn't move that much, and so just so much good information.
Yeah. Pam, how about you? Same kind of thing, your history, what made you decide that this was the time to go get in the air?
Well, I've never flown, and I'm 55 years old, and I missed your class last year when you came into Boston, and I just was very determined to do this year. I have 4 daughters, and they all have flown, and one of them lives in Orlando, and we will drive down, and we don't, we enjoy the drive, it's fine, but the thought always came to me is how nice it would be to just be able to get in that plane and go see her by myself with my husband. And what if there was an emergency and I needed to get to her? So she's actually, today's her birthday. She's 23 today. So,
Cool.
I spoke with her briefly, and I said to her, "Oh my goodness, Olivia, you must be so frightened because now that your mother will fly, I could just show up at your door right now."
And that
sword for sure.
That's kind of a theme.
That's great.
Janice and Pam and I, we all talked about family and how it's both a blessing and a curse.
Yes.
Both ends,
right.
both the above you and your kids below you. I talk about they can be the joy of your life, and you want to throw them out the window sometimes. And that was we joked about that a lot. And your daughter, I think you mentioned, Pammy, she happens to work at Disney, right? So you got an insider down there.
She is. She used to sell churros and slushies, and she's now working in the engineering department. And so proud of her. But she can get me into Disney like anytime I want. We're just there to visit her in February, but I said to her today, when can I come down? In April, I got to get back on the plane right away. So we're going to fly down to Orlando and drive her crazy. Yeah.
Okay. So Janice, what was it like when you came to the airport and you got there on Saturday morning and connected there? Tell everybody a little bit about what that was like.
Right. So I was really, afraid, and just wasn't sure how it was going to be. And then, of course, I had trouble getting my ID into my wallet. So that was
Oh,
Had a little
right.
trouble there. So, I
Wait.
mean, right? I couldn't get my ID out of my wallet, and Capt Ron
Yeah.
had to get it out for me, but it was stuck in there. But anyway, I was very, apprehensive. Wasn't sure how it was going to be.
Let me interrupt real quick. So you can't see, but on the screen, I've got a shot of, remember the paper that you brought, the 2 pages that you brought? I got a shot of
yes.
of you showing
Yeah.
that to me when we're in the airplane there.
Yes.
And I was telling everybody, it was
Yeah.
like everything you'd ever want to know
Yeah.
about fear of
Just
flying.
synopsis. You're right. Right. Because that's how I cope with, like, I need to have safety information. I had a lot of good safety information. That was what was going to get me through, by reading all these things about how safe plane travel is. But I think takeoff is probably the hardest thing for me. And, we did the takeoff, and that, it was hard. But then all of a sudden, I just had a very calm flight, and I just couldn't believe it. I mean, I sometimes on the way back from a trip, I would be a little less nervous, but I've never been completely calm throughout the whole flight. I was just shocked at how well it went. I just wasn't sure how it was going to go. I wasn't sure how it was going to go. And I was just amazed, with
So
all the
people out there
information
people out there are listening to you, and they're saying, yeah, she's not as afraid as I would be.
No, I was, I've been terrified at times. And I think the takeoff is, for me, the worst fight. Because you had asked me one time, what's your problem area? I'm thinking really everything. I can't think of anything that I'm not afraid of. But I think it's the takeoff. It's that is the most problematic. And I feel better about that now, again, with a lot of the information that I got through the program. Yeah.
And Pam, I want to jump over quick to you. I didn't ask you if I could show this picture, Pam, but this is one that I think will give me more credibility that it's not a walk on the beach for you guys, is it? It was really, it's really a challenge. Yeah. But I'm going to tell you, you guys showed up in the biggest way. And did you also do the 201? Pam, I think you did, didn't you?
I'm gonna be honest with you, I did not. I watched
okay.
YouTube videos and did a lot of different things in different ways.
Yeah, but you guys did a lot of work, and I know you guys watched the show and all that. And the hardest part, people, I repeat this every week. People say, "What's the most important thing about overcoming fear of flying?" And I say, "You got to get a ticket and get on the airplane." And I think both of you shared that a couple times. How important it was. So at this moment, I think I got this just right about the time we were releasing the brakes, right? And this is probably the most challenging. What you want to talk about that just a little bit?
I was so I was crying. I mean, and I had a lorazepam in me, so it's just a little bit to take the edge off and make sure that my stomach wasn't flipping around while I was on that plane, because there were so many unknowns for me. Claustrophobia was a concern. I was concerned about getting sick on the plane. I was just concerned about how I would feel, and my anxiety level, you would never have necessarily known it because I wouldn't have been outwardly bursting, but it just eat me up inside. And so at this moment, I'm sure I was doing the breathing technique that you showed me, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I got to say that liftoff was nothing like I expected it to be. It was great.
Would it be fair to say, for both of you, that whatever anxiety showed up as we're rolling down the runway, by the time we got into the air, I'm not going to say that it was completely over, but by the time we got into the air, I was actually watching you guys come down and relax a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's when I felt it too. Yeah.
And you both did. Yeah, you both did really well, and I wish I tell everybody every time we fly, and people that I coach, that if you do the work, if you educate yourself and you get some questions answered, and you learn, if you build up a little bit of a database in your head, now you got some choices that you don't have if you just try to go to the airport and guts it out and hope for a miracle.
Right.
And you guys,
information is huge.
Yeah, because once we got it, once we got going. It was pretty much on there, and so I'll go back to you, Janice. So the crew, well, both of you, during cruising, what was that like? We had a little bit of turbulence.
Very nice.
Yeah,
it was nice, and plus we were talking, and that's great for distraction when you're talking to people. I mean, and then of course too, we have you there. I mean, that helps tremendously. I mean, it's gonna.
Wait,
I know I'm gonna.
I'm
fly.
always curious. What does it do to have me there? What does that? What's that? What
Because
what
you
is
can
it?
answer for me, you can answer
Okay.
any question that I have.
So
like, something
information,
happened.
right? Yeah.
Information,
Yeah.
reassurance. I mean, even this is probably would never happen, but I mean, you could help if anything happened on the plane, but not that that's likely to happen. But I
You
know
won't
it's
tell
so-
anybody that I actually pray for the pilots to have some kind of problem, so we could go up and save the day and have our own Sully moment, right?
Right.
Eric and I pray for that when we go flying.
Yeah,
We
right.
we want the crew to have a problem and we get to step in there and land the airplane.
Oh my goodness.
I know, but
Hey, boss,
I
we should
just
go
feel like
back
it was-
right now. We got a lot of gas. We're not going to get to fly again. We want to get this over with.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
if those two go forward to fly, I'm in the back. I'll be
There
in
you
the
go.
orange cart. Because I
Yeah.
know where all that stuff is.
So
Oh,
Pam,
funny.
for you, were there any moments that equaled the first moment there that we saw in the picture, or was it did it look from the outside? It looked like you calmed down and much of the rest of the flight pretty much was again, I won't say a day at the beach, but it was definitely well below what your level of anxiety was at first.
I was amazed. I really was. Yeah, you're right. I started to calm down. Having you there, literally, you were the third pilot, and I'm not kidding, because you had that knowledge. You were giving me bits of information. When we hit the little bit of turbulence, you would talk about the air exchange and what was going on. And I don't know, you did for me what my husband couldn't do, because you had that knowledge base behind you. And as much as he could hold my hand and try and make me reassured, you had the knowledge base to be able to talk me down and help me understand and remind me of everything that I educated myself on how a plane operates. And yeah.
And half of what I said wasn't true. I just made that up in the moment there.
And don't forget that Janice brought chocolate, so we were armed with chocolate.
Janice knows how to bribe me. She gave me about at least a pound of chocolate, and she'll be responsible for my membership in the gym for the next 6 months.
Lobsters, right? All shaped as lobsters.
I'm glad. Go ahead, Diane.
I was just going to say, one of the good things that these guys, and me too, when I get a chance, any answer is a good answer. As Ron, even if it's not the truth. As long as
Right. Pilots never let the truth get in the way of a good. Yeah, we never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
You don't know.
So anyway.
As long as the story is better than the story you're telling yourself, then that's
Right. That's right.
step upward. I was just sitting here thinking,
you guys did. You brought your own stories, and when we landed, you had a little mini celebration in the seat, and we went in, and you guys bought me lunch, for crying out loud. I was trying. I thought I'm going to stake the bill, but pilots are good at ducking the bill too, apparently.
I have a question
That's
for
the least I
both.
could do.
I have a question for both of the ladies. One of the things that I encounter with my passengers is when they hear all the different weird sounds, like the landing gear coming up, the landing gear going down, the chime. How did those sounds affect you ladies in any way that you can imagine or relate?
I had earbuds in, and I didn't pay attention.
You didn't pay attention.
I had one earbud in because I wanted to be able to hear Ron in case he had something, but I had music.
In case I said something true. Yeah.
And he was speaking mostly with Janice. It really worked out perfect because Janice needed to talk more.
Janice was talking.
His voice.
Yeah, Janice was talking his ear off, basically.
And I was just kind of sitting there holding. We were all holding hands. It was kind of
right. We did the grip on the takeoff.
Yeah,
that was
did us gripped. So, and I was okay with. I didn't hear anything. I heard the engine start up, and that was it.
That would
so
be
for what
for extreme cases, Ron, to have the harmonizer in one ear and you talking in the other one.
I know. Can you think of a worse dilemma, Eric? I can't. No.
You would drive away every single fearful flyer that we've ever seen at that point.
Exactly. So we went in, we had lunch, and we had to kill about 4 hours, which is a pretty long time. And
Yeah.
and you guys found an attraction that next time I go to Boston, I didn't realize they have a little kind of a museum there and an observation deck.
Yeah.
And they went
Baltimore.
off and did some shopping and stuff and found that. So next time we'll pay attention to that too. But
Yeah, it's
but
nice
lunch
there, yeah.
lunch was, by the time we got to lunch, I mean, flying was hardly even discussed, right? And you know, and
Yeah,
I try to
right.
emphasize to people, you know, it similar to when I got my wings, you know, it's hard to believe you spend a year in intensive training, and then when you get done, you realize the job wasn't necessarily for you to learn how to fly. It was for you to learn how to do something useful with an airplane. And there's a parallel.
Yeah.
So when we got to lunch there, you kind of got it, right? The job isn't to
Yeah.
get over your fear of flying so much, it's to go someplace and do things. And you guys both did
Right.
really well. We had a great time at least I had a great time.
I almost felt like what was the big deal? Like, honestly, I just
Right.
had like this feeling
Yeah.
like all these years, what am I making such a big deal of this for?
Yeah,
You know what I
killer.
love too was
Killer.
when we talked to the pilot, which was so nice, and he said, Captain Ron said to him, "Oh, you know, this is Pam and Janice, and they're, you know, like nervous, whatever." He goes, "About what?" And I love that. It was like, yeah, it's like this, you know, it's so nonchalant. It's like, yeah, you know, yeah.
Yep.
And it was really nice. So that was a nice part of
Scott
it
the
too.
pilot. Yep. He was
Yeah,
great.
and he wasn't being
Yeah.
cynical. He was sincere. He
No.
just said about
No,
what?
no, he was
wanted to
very
know.
serious,
So
which was nice.
anybody listening out there, whether you fly with us or not, you gotta go early board. You gotta get up there and keep the courage to talk to the pilots. It makes a big difference to connect with those guys up there. So now we're
Yeah.
getting ready. We're on the way home. You know, what was it like compared to when we got to Boston? What was it like when we got ready to board the flight home?
Oh, so I was
mm-hmm.
nervous because we were getting on a 737 MAX 8. We originally were supposed to be on a 737-800. I already knew all about the 800 and how old it was, everything. So and I knew everything about the MAX 8s. So that was nerve-wracking for me. So you were able to talk me in on that one. And when we got on the plane, we went to see the pilots, and I asked them, I'm like, "Oh, okay, we're not going to nosedive today, right?" And I basically was like,
because you connected the 8 with the history that it had, right? We dropped out of service. Yeah,
absolutely. And he
Yeah.
said to me very, very calmly, casually, "To see these buttons right here?" I'm like, "Yep." He's like, "Well, you know, we just lift these buttons up and that just takes it right out of auto." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. I'm going to go sit down now." And I will also say that pre-board, it was really critical for me, because if I
It
had
was
to
nice,
be
yeah.
cattled on with all of the other people, I would have lost it. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Janice, how about you?
Yeah, so I mean, it was like, again, the takeoff. It's always that part that I don't like, and I know I squeezed your hand to the point where I probably broke your fingers, but no. And then I was good. You know, after that, it was just kind of the takeoff. I was afraid because more, you know, a little more tired at the end of the day. You know, but it was fine. It was good. Again, it was just so much better than I expected it would be.
Yeah,
You know,
and we
so much better.
And we got to the when we got back to Boston, of course, we had the opportunity to, let me pull this
I sat in the window seat on the ride home too.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. We switched
Looking out
seats.
the window.
Yep.
Yeah.
Looking out. It
Yep.
was a big deal.
That is such a
That
great,
was awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there we are.
Yeah, I
And
think the big, yeah.
and then I got to wait another 2 hours delay before we got to go
Oh,
home,
that's
and then
right.
another
That's
hour out of
so bad.
St. Louis.
You must have been so
Yeah.
tired.
Oh.
That was a lot of flying in one day for you. 2 days.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
So I just want to congratulate both of you again. I want to say thanks to both of you for coming on. I think this is the hardest part of this, is to come on and share your story and history with everybody. This is the courage that I see every time I go fly with people like you, Pam, and you, Janice. It's just amazing, and it's inspiring. I don't care what anybody says. You don't have to fly on a stupid airplane. You know, you got to want to do that. And you two really, really, you know, took that to a different level. It's just a lot of fun. You all are
Yeah, it was
both
fun.
really intelligent, women too smart for your own good when it comes to that analytical part. And I think that's what happened. But you literally changed the way you thought about flying and did wonderfully there. So again, thanks for coming
thank you.
on.
No, thank you. I can't thank you enough. I mean, your program is amazing. You're amazing, and I'm just so grateful to you.
Yeah.
I-
So
I felt
Dieter,
like I never
any
slept the next day too. I got to tell you, I woke up the next day and I've been on cloud nine since. I feel
yeah,
like,
show the card.
that's so
Show the
nice.
card that somebody gave you.
oh yes. So this card, my friend, it's hard because it's bouncing off the light, but I'll quickly read it. There's no journey more satisfying than the one from wondering if you can to realizing you just did. And it was just a great card. And he gave me a little set of wings because he's so cute. And
Yeah.
but I really, all that stress, all the years of like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get in this plane. I'm never going to fly. My whole life is going to go to waste. I'm going to be some old lady, 90 years old, if I live that long, and have wasted all my life, never flown. Really, I feel that way. So I don't feel that way anymore. I'm just really excited to just start with some trips, short trips, right?
Well, congratulations to the both of you, and again for coming on. If you want, you can just hang in there with us. We're just going to close out the show with some of the things that we typically do, talking about some things coming up. And if I can find my slides again, because they just disappeared. Okay, you guys, what's the story here?
Janice, I love your notes, and I'm glad the security didn't have to go into the little room and explain why it was you had a War and Peace novel of how everything works on the airplane. That kind of worked out good for you. Good for you.
I know.
For sure.
I know everything you need to know about flying. I know. It's just, I know.
Awesome.
I know.
Okay. All right. So here, this thing jumped completely around on me. I can't believe it. Anyway, so what we wanted to do, we just want to highlight again, talking about the FearlessFlight app. You're going to hear us talking about that a lot more from week to week because it is the easiest and most direct least path of least resistance way to get to us and our information. And we're going to keep adding more and more information and more features. Anybody who's taken the course, or if you have any of the products we have, the flight harmonizer, things like that, you'll be able to access them easily through that. This is what the app actually looks like when you put it on your device, and you'll have displayed anything that you have access to, so you don't have to worry about getting confused with that. We want to throw a quick welcome or a highlight out to anybody who wants to or is planning to fly with us on March 25th. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to head over to Burbank and meet with a group of people over there. I'm going to fly from Burbank to Sacramento and back on Saturday, doing the same thing.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Dieter, while I'm going to these next slides, any other questions or anything, just chime right in there if you got anything.
But there's a lot of respect and a lot of congratulations for you two ladies, because everyone can really appreciate both the courage and also the preparation that it took for you guys to get on that flight and have a successful, positive experience. So there was a question about being concerned about all the recently in the news, all the things that could have happened but didn't. And whether or not that is a lack of training or being over, just the system is stretched to the max or whatever. Whatever the case may be, before I let you, Ron and Eric, talk about that, I do want to say the fact that we are able to catch these things before they become problems is really the one thing that ultimately got to stay in the back of your mind, because wherever there's humans involved, there will be issues and errors. It's just that's us. But
And
yeah,
and
go
what
ahead.
we're going to talk about those on Thursday night. We're going to talk about the purpose of mindfulness. We're going to introduce you to hopefully a different way to look at mindfulness. And what that means is when you see events in the media that happen and news stories, things like that, it's going to teach you how do you put that in perspective. So we'll talk a little bit about the industry, but we'll talk a lot about how you take care of that, how you handle it, how you put that. And remember, the reason that aviation incidents and accidents make the news is because they are so rare, at least part of it. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's no surprise that when something happens like that, how many times you see it, yesterday we killed 100 and some people on the highways in the United States alone. You don't hear that because it's routine.
Right.
If we kill that
Right.
many people in a day if we kill that many people in a year, aviation would be under serious scrutiny. If we killed them in a day,
Right.
you wouldn't be flying the next day. Okay. So so we'll talk about one, how to put that in perspective, what you can believe and where you can go for when you need a little bit of sorting out. And two, how do you deal with it? You can't stick your head in the sand. You can't be an ostrich, and we're not asking anybody. Some of you are going to insist on looking at the YouTube videos and scaring the pants off yourself. And we just want you to know that you can do that and you can still practice on your fear of flying there. So that is what we're going to do on Thursday night. And for any of you out there who have not considered either coming and joining us one time for this Thursday session or becoming a monthly member and taking advantage of all the things that you get with the FearlessFlight Fearful Flyer Club membership, we'd love to have you come and join us and take a look at it and stick with us then. So any final words of wisdom, Pam or Janice?
Janice?
No, but well, that thing is, I like the idea too, that when I do go to take a flight, I can get a coaching call like that morning. That'll be nice. I have that, or if I'm on vacation somewhere and wanted to do that, it's nice to have that option, but
Yeah.
I know I'm going to be so much better. I know it's going to be much better and much different.
Yeah, I think it'll be great to be able to just, be able to shoot you a text and say, hey, I'm getting on this plane, or I'm on the plane now and, a lot of turbulence, what's going on. But I think it's really hard taking that step, man. I took a video of me pushing the button to buy the tickets. I mean, I just was so stressed out just doing that, just making that commitment. And then I spent an entire month stressing out over it and preparing the week ahead of time. I didn't have caffeine. I didn't have any alcohol. I just had this whole routine I went through before I did that flight, and didn't sleep the entire night before. I think, Janice, you didn't sleep either, right?
Yeah, I didn't sleep either. No, I didn't get no sleep.
Pam, more than the normal amount of sympathy for you. Let me tell you, the horrible thing is to see an airline pilot forcing himself to spend money to buy a ticket. So I mean, it's freaking awful. So I can see your hand might have forced. Yeah, I'm right there with you.
That's a different kind of fear.
That is a these guys, I describe them as having a pathological, this is an absolutely pathological resistance to purchasing a ticket. They're not rev for so long. And before we go, I just want to tell that little story I told before we started the show, just for a little bit of levity on what happens to us sometimes. Okay. So whenever, yeah.
Yep. Have at it.
Okay.
Yes.
So just when you think everybody else is having a good day or a bad day, and you think, oh, the flight attendants, they look so put together and everything's so marvelous.
Yeah.
I flew this last 3 days and I finished my trip this morning, but the flight attendant with whom I was flying, he had another couple of legs. They went up and back to Montana, actually. And he posted that the other flight, he was the forward, and the other flight attendant had her cart and she ran out of Sprite about row 7. And there we have about 17 rows, and she ran out of Sprite, and he was walking from the galley back to her holding 3 cans of Sprite, and one of them dropped and landed flat on the aisle and exploded all over
Oh,
him. And
oh, God.
So we had Old Faithful in
Old Faithful.
next to seat number 7.
just when you all think it couldn't get worse, we
Yeah.
we have abject fear of spilling coffee on someone or spilling a Diet Coke, or being in, like I've been a couple times right in the middle of pouring a soda, and all of a sudden the plane is going like this, and trying desperately not to cover everybody. So, you know, it just
Yeah.
And I'll guarantee you, for anybody who was near there and could see that, who was afraid to fly, in that moment, their fear completely disappeared. So we'll do anything to help you out.
Janice and Pam, all kinds of things happen. Just want to let you know.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, anyway, thanks again, Pam. Thanks, Janice. I really appreciate you guys.
Thank
I had a
you.
great time. You showed me great
Yeah, we
hospitality.
had so much
It was a lot of
fun.
fun.
Yeah, it
Talking
was.
to 2
Yeah, it was so much
authentic
fun.
Boston Irish people up there. It was really fun.
Already
And
going
I wish you the best, and you know where to get a hold of us if you need to talk. Okay.
Absolutely.
Right. Thank all of you. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Congratulations
much.
to all of you for watching again. We'll see you next week for another episode of Fearless Flight Live. Have a great week, everybody.